I don't think I'm going to be doing fan art for this one, because this is just going to be quick, and this is just a really agitating thing that happened. And it's a thing that keeps happening, and I'm not a fan of it, because this is just something that I know a lot of people have dealt with. So I want to speak to my experience with it, and then maybe, hopefully, someone else will hear this and understand, like, what's going on. So, who here is familiar with courtesy pay fees from the bank? It can be from your bank, it can be from your credit union, anything like that. Give me an H in chat if you are familiar with courtesy pay fees. Okay, so for those who aren't familiar, because I see there's at least one person who's not familiar with them, what a courtesy pay fee is let's say you have $5 in your bank account, right? And you buy something that costs $6. Instead of rejecting that pay, instead of rejecting what you just, submitted as a transaction, your bank will let it go through, letting you use 5 of your dollars and 1 of the bank's dollars. Now, when this happens, you will be subjected to something called a courtesy pay fee. Now, what a courtesy fee usually entails is you will have usually about a $30 charge on your account per courtesy pay fee. Now, why does this matter? This is just an inconvenient. You spend $5 on something, and now you're having to actually spend $35 on that thing because that's just what happened. Well, it gets a little worse than that. It compounds. I want you to consider for a moment a situation. This is a situation I found myself in before, and it is a situation that I woke up to again today because, of course, waking up to having less than $0 in your bank account is always fun. So, imagine you go to sleep. You have $5 or $6 in your account, and you're fine. It's not the best. It's not the best feeling in the world, but you've got that, and you get paid tomorrow. Hell, I get paid today, so I was like, it's fine, whatever. And then a bunch of things charge at once. Now, for those who don't know, if you go to a restaurant in the United States and you charge tip on your card, that tip doesn't get charged right away. That tip comes out several days later. For what reason? Fuck if I know. Absolute fuck if I know. So let's say you go to a restaurant and you've got one of these charges there. Now let's say you've got something like Zoom, which I need for my job. That has a $15 fee that it pulls out every now and again. And that's going to pull out. And then let's say that you've got, something else, any other miscellaneous automatic thing that comes out, be it, Netflix or a $3 charge for running a Google Drive account that has more than 15 gigabytes of data on it. Another thing that I need for my job. So, you wake up, and that first automatic charge happened. $15, you had 5, congratulations. You're now at negative $10, but it's really negative 40 because of the courtesy pay fee. And then the next charge happens. Because here's the fun part. Automatic charges, this is what I was told from my bank, apparently, and this is what I was told from the bank previously, the one that I left because of this problem, and then was informed that this problem wouldn't be a thing in the new account, and then it was anyway, because of some fucking mumbo-jumbo, because of the way it was worded. Apparently, if it's a card transaction, it will stop it. But automatic transactions, which people have more and more of every day now, do not count. These are things that will happen regardless, and there's no way around them, apparently. The bank says they have to fulfill these. They have to, and I really think that's bullshit. Not bullshit that, oh, we live in a society where this is a thing that we have to deal with, but no, I think that's bullshit as in that's a lie. I think that banks literally could just let that not go through. I don't think there should be any problem with just having a restriction that says, hey, a charge was tried to be made to your account. It didn't happen. Boom. That's it. That should be where it is. So maybe try canceling the automatic payment. For some stuff, you can't. For some stuff, the only option you have is the automatic payment. Like, would that I lived in a perfect world where every payment that's considered automatic could just be changed to manual. But some of them can't. So you wake up in this world where $15 was taken out of your $5 account, and it's on payday. So that $15 turned into -10, now -40. And then another $3 transaction was made at the same time. Now, you aren't -$43 in. You are -$73 in. And now, if another transaction happens around the same time, you won't be -$74. You'll be -$104, because if you lose $1 while in this state, it will turn into $31, because that's how the courtesy pay fee works. Now, I'm sure that somebody in the comments section is just going to say, you should be more responsible. Except, this isn't a problem that just affects me. This is something called a poor tax. This is something that uniquely only affects you if you don't make that much money. And here's why. In the United States, you are pressured to change a lot of your payments to automatic, those that you actually have choices to make between automatic and not. And usually changing anything to automatic as a payment lowers the amount you pay on it. So if you're already strapped for cash and you have to have something like a phone payment or a car payment or something, and they say, hey, we can make it cost $10 less, or even 10% less in some cases, by having this run as an automatic payment, and because that lets us do it as paperless and everything else. And you say, yeah, that's fine, because I don't have that much money, so I need this thing to function like a phone. So I'll take the automatic payment. Now mind, my phone, I don't do an automatic payment for this very fucking reason. Now, when you do this, you then trap yourself in the situation where if you don't have enough money one day, which is what happens here, then congratulations, you now get subjected to a poor tax. Well, why is it a poor tax? If you're poor, you are more likely to have a zero balance in your account every once in a while. For me, I got a zero balance in my account right before payday, so of course, that's what happens. Sometimes you have a paycheck to paycheck shenanigans that happens. You are more likely to have a $0 balance in your checking account more often than not if you are already not in the most financially stable position. And by being in this position, this feature of the way that banks and credit unions in the United States operate is going to kick in. And it's a courtesy pay in name only. While yes, the bank could have just not done the payment, I think most people would have preferred if the bank just didn't do the payment. Like at all. And now I've heard a shit take that, and this is one when I complained about this on Twitter like a long time ago. Someone who funds a good bit of creators in the atheist community decided to talk out of his ass and say that this isn't a problem that uniquely affects poor people. This problem doesn't disproportionately affect poor people. Yada, yada, yada. So now I want to talk about how poor taxes work just in general. Let's say that there is a problem in society, right? There's a thing that you can do that is wrong. This is a hypothetical. This can focus towards anything. The bank is merely my example, but there are more situations where this happens as well. Think fines for speeding tickets, stuff like that. If the punishment for something you do that's wrong is financial, then it is more likely that if you're poor, this very, very deeply affects you. If you live paycheck to paycheck, not being able to pay a $300 speeding ticket is very likely. Or at the very least, you may be sacrificing a utility or even the ability to feed yourself to pay it. So, when you are more likely to be affected by this, that already makes this something that disproportionately affects poor people. For people who think that, well, this affects everybody, so it's fair. No, that's not how this works. The mere fact that a financial punishment affects everybody does not mean it affects them all equally. Punishing somebody who can barely make it on their salary with a financial punishment is infinitely worse than punishing someone with that same financial punishment if they make, say, a six-figure salary. If somebody makes a six-figure salary, a couple things happen. One, they are probably less likely to find themselves in a scenario where they have to pay exorbitant fees for things like the bank. They are less likely to find themselves in a scenario where they might not be able to, say, pay their car insurance. A fun story to give an example of what happened to me in this scenario. Almost 5 years ago now, I quit working at McDonald's as a manager, and I started working at my local Publix. However, I was not able to work at that local Publix for about a month or so. And the reason for this is when I started my job application at the Publix, I had already left the McDonald's, and I had already been assured that, yes, I'd be able to have my job at the Publix. I'd done my initial interview and everything. So I sat down to do my starting paperwork. And I was told that I needed a form of secondary identification. This form of secondary identification could be my birth certificate. It could be my social security card. I was a dumbass, and I had my card in my wallet. So my card was not in the best of shape, and they said they could not use the card. They would need the birth certificate. So I said, okay, fine. I went home and looked for my birth certificate. Now, a thing had happened to me recently. I had recently had a breakup with a partner. And this is way before I had a YouTube channel, so none of you know who the partner is. And I could not find my birth certificate. And I found out that apparently this partner had stolen my birth certificate. So I had to go through an entire spiel for getting my birth certificate back, which involved not getting it back. It involved me just buying a new one. As for why she stole it, because she could not find the registration for her vehicle when she was gathering all of her stuff. So she stole my birth certificate as an insurance policy so that I would go find the registration to give it to her. That was the reason I was given. So, now I'm in a situation where I can't work, I'm not making any money, and I have a new job lined up, but I need to spend money to get a birth certificate that I do not have in order to work again. So I get this. Now, during this time that I'm waiting for the birth certificate, apparently the insurance on my car drops off. Heck, if I knew, I couldn't even pay the damn thing if I wanted to. So I finally have my insurance, my birth certificate, and I go use it, get all my paperwork submitted, and then I'm given my day of orientation. So I go to orientation. And now, remember, I can't pay car insurance. I have no money. But I also have to get to work to function. Work is 20 miles away at this point because we had just been evicted from our house, and at this time we had moved in with my parents. They also weren't home during the times that I needed to go to work, so it's not like I could be asking for a ride either. The only option available to me at this point is use my vehicle and go. And again, I didn't even know that my insurance had lapsed at this point. Because apparently, even after having everything taken care of, insurance does not automatically renew anywho. But, so I go and do my first day of orientation. Everything's wonderful. And I'm on my way back home. And on the way home, a police officer stops me. Now remember, because I'm poor, I am not able to afford insurance on my vehicle for, at this point, it was a grand total of, I think, 5 or 6 days. So now, I am taken to jail. And after being taken to jail, I first of all get to experience some of the lovely things that happen in the local jail system. One of them is that when you are sitting in holding, you are not in Gen Pop or anything yet. Apparently they blast freezing cold air into the cell every 15 minutes. And they say that it's to pacify everyone in the cell. Really, all it did was make it to where I couldn't fucking sleep, because every time that I almost got any sleep, because mind, this happened, like, orientation ended like 8 or 9 p.m. So, like, I was tired. Nobody was able to get any sleep. Everybody was just getting more and more irritated, everybody that had gotten brought in, because we were getting frozen repeatedly. And it's not like you had shoes or anything on you, because they strip you of that shit when you get into the jail cell. So now, I need to get out of here, because I have no money, and I'm in a jail cell, and I want to go home. Mind. I've not hurt anybody, I've not done anything that causes damage to other people, but I'm in a jail cell regardless. So, I end up having to get a friend to bail me out, and the bail is like $990-something. And on top of this, we have to get my car out of impound, which is another $1,000. And I've got to get the car reinsured, which now that I've been taken to jail for not having car insurance, my insurance now costs more. I think at this point it was costing me like $230 a month, $250. And that's for the places that are willing to reinsure you. So now I've got fees upon fees upon fees, and it's only by sheer luck that I knew one person local to me, because he's a friend that moved here with me. And he's able to take care of those fees at first, so that I can, and then I end up, paying him back later as I'm earning money for work. But mind, there's another issue. Not only have we had to pay $2,000 or $2,300 towards getting the car out of impound, getting the car reinsured, and then the bail, because, if I'm not out of jail, I'm not going to be able to earn any money, so I'm just going to be stuck in jail in perpetuity. Then I get the information in the mail that I have a court date. And on that court date, I'm going to owe another $2,000 to the state for my terrible crimes. So, because there was a lapse in paychecks of a month, 1 month of no pay, now I have to make, at the time, about 6 months worth of pay for me in order to even manage to function anymore. And all of this because a single scenario happened that was circumstantial. It was by chance. A person stole my birth certificate. leading me to not being able to pay insurance because I couldn't get employed in the amount of time required to have enough money for it, and I also had no way to get to work outside of the one way that I used. And I'm sure there's going to be some genius in the comment section going, you could have done X, Y, Z, whatever magical way you think could have avoided this problem with somebody having zero money, knowing a single person didn't even live in my own city. I'm sure some genius in the comment section is going to come up with a thousand ways in which, if they had been struck with this situation, they would have handled it better. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to read your comment, I'm going to laugh, probably going to post it to Twitter and poke fun at you and laugh again. This is my experience I dealt with, so you can kindly fuck off. Anywho, this is an example. The bank one, the being down like $70 because of not having enough money, right before payday, that is an inconvenience. That is a problem. That is a thing that sucks when it happens, but after it happens, you put a few more dollars in the bank, and then you solve that problem going forward, assuming that you can keep about $100 to $200 in the bank at all times, just in case this shit happens. This cascading problem of popping in jail, having to have enough money all ready to bail yourself out, which I didn't, having to have enough money to pull your car out of impound, having enough money to reinsure your vehicle, and then hoping to God that you can make enough money so that by the time you go to court, you're able to pay off whatever ludicrous expenses they want to throw at you. All of these fees are things that uniquely affect somebody who's poor. Let's say that you are making $100,000 a year, and somehow you still manage to find yourself in the situation once. $4,000 to you is not that much. Insofar as if you have to pay it once in a year, you can probably manage it. It's not going to hurt you all that much. Whereas if you are in my situation, between jobs, and at your previous job you were making $600 every 2 weeks, so $1,200 a month. For me, being able to pay off those amount of fees in total is almost half a year of my life. Whereas somebody making $100,000 a year, this is probably a month of their life, maybe. Assuming they didn't just have that in savings. Now mine, when you have your court date, you have to get this amount of money, not $4,000, that's just the total required to even take care of this at all, but the $2,000. When you get your court date, you have to earn that money before the court date. Because if you don't walk in there with that, then your other option would be just serving time. These are things that uniquely affect people who are low income in the United States. So whenever somebody tries to say that the United States it's the best country in the world and it's wonderful, everybody can just pull themselves up from their bootstraps, dude, the system is literally rigged against people. Yeah, people have the opportunity to pull themselves up. People should always be trying to self-improve and make their situation better for themselves. But maybe it's time for some people to just take a reality check and understand that not everybody can just magic themselves out of one of these situations. I only got out of this situation because of pure circumstance and the goodwill of those around me. That's the only reason that I didn't end up having to serve more than the single night in a cell. I wanted to lead with the example of this from the bank because this is the thing that I woke up to. This is the thing that is most recently affecting me. But I also wanted to tell the story about the jail cell stuff because... And I don't want to focus on the jail cell itself. Because again, there was a single night. Yeah, being blasted with like freezing cold air every 15 minutes and having to take a shit in front of multiple people because the water fountain and the toilet are the same thing in that, well, they were the same thing in that cell, and there were like 14 people packed into the same one. And yeah, that's a really unpleasant experience, and it speaks to the degradation of people who end up going into the jail system in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, all of that shit. But I don't want to focus on the myriad of ways in which that situation's inhumane. What I want to focus on is the way the system is engineered to literally get people in there. Had I not had money saved up, had I not been uniquely in the situation where for a brief period we had been evicted and we were living with my parents, so I didn't have to spend as much on rent and utilities, I would have been just going back into general population. Because I wouldn't have been able to save up enough money to take care of all that shit. Yeah, the entire system's inhumane. But what I want to focus on is how easy it is for somebody to fall into that system. Because it happened to me. And it sucks. But with all that said, hopefully this lets you guys have some kind of discussion in the comment section below. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.